Did you ever notice that it's the same ashtrays who are complaining about how nobody ever does anything right, and if they're going to do something, they should do it right? Those are the same people who are complaining about the hobby dying. Maybe there's a connection. That's our subject today on Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Mike. You're watching My Car Shop. You've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. It's always the wannabes who criticize what everybody else does, and they don't do anything themselves. Somebody who's truly an expert never criticizes somebody else's work. They only offer encouragement and helpful hints and constructive criticism, but they don't ever flame somebody else. It's only the wannabes. Those are the ashtrays we're talking about. If you're going to be on social media, you got to have some pretty thick skin. I really couldn't care less what anybody thinks about what I do. I'm here to share what I do. If that helps and encourages others, I think that's great. But here's the problem that I have. People that are complaining about the younger generation and they're not interested and everything costs too much and blah, 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 blah. They're the ones who are always criticizing other people's work. And I think that's a crying shame, because if we want the younger generations to get into this stuff, to be interested in this stuff, then we've got to stop complaining. We've got to stop driving people away and unknowingly make ourselves these elitists that are separated from the rest of the world. And, well, you know what I'm saying. If you've been around here for a while, you know our motto is make it safe, make it done, and have fun. That having fun is the process of doing it, the process of making it safe, the process of making it done, and then the process afterwards of getting out and enjoying the projects. That all should be fun. Otherwise, what's the point of doing any of this? If it's a chore and we're screwing it all up and we already feel like we're a loser, and then some ashtray comes in and criticizes everything we do, I don't blame people for putting all their tools on Marketplace and locking the garage door and getting rid of their project. I don't blame them at all. The second thing I see in the DIY world is the DIYers criticize the check writers. I talk a lot about that subject, and I want to be very, very clear that I do not think that people who write checks are snobbish or that they have that they're somehow less than. I mean, a lot of what I have here over the years has been doing work for people who are able to write the checks. As one wealthy guy said, I don't know how to do the work, but I love the work getting done, and I would rather spend a few extra hours in my office making the money to pay you to do the job. Well, I think that's a winner chicken dinner, and I would never criticize somebody for approaching the hobby that way. Like I said, I've had a lot of guys over the years that's been exactly their approach. They do understand the basics, the core. They know what they want. They know how they want it done, and they have the resources to do that. And in a different circumstance in life, maybe I would too. I don't know. I'm not in that circumstance. I can't say I've never been in that circumstance, but neither here nor there. We all enjoy things the way we are, and we don't want to be an ashtray and criticize how somebody else enjoys it. The episode that just aired yesterday, I think it was talking about inviting young guys in, giving them broom, letting them sweep the shop, seeing if they're interested, and offering them not a job, but opportunity to learn some things from some of us old farts who've been doing this stuff a long time. We don't want to be criticizing how they do things. We don't want to be flaming them for how they do things. We don't want to be crabbing at them because maybe they didn't hang a quarter panel the way I think it should be done. Again, is it safe? Is it done? And are they having fun? We can offer suggestions. We can offer encouragement, and we can even demonstrate how something could be done differently if they want to know. And I think that's the biggest thing, asking that question. Over the last 30 years, I have trained upwards of 100 counselors. One of the things I will always tell them is the worst counsel in the world is counsel that wasn't asked for. And I think it's the same exact thing. The worst advice in the world is advice that wasn't asked for. And you got to be careful about that, because sometimes some young person will come in and say, proudly into one of these Facebook groups or a forum and say, look at what I've done. And they get flamed for the way they did it. They weren't saying, tell me what I did wrong. They weren't saying, tell me how I could do better. They were proud of what they did. Why should we pee in their bowl of Cheerios? Many times they're looking for approval. And when you criticize, you're rejecting them. And I've seen people, mostly guys, because it's mostly guys around me that do this stuff, but I've seen them walk away completely from the hobby because of it. And I think it's a crying shame, because I saw a budding car guy or a budding car gal that just needed a little TLC and a little cultivating and a little direction and a little, and mostly, encouragement and some help. So ask the question, hey, that's pretty good. Were you interested in some constructive tips that could take that even further for you next time? Remember that it's about leaving what it is now, unless it's not safe. Leave it be what it is. But offer some, hey, maybe next time you do that, you could think about doing this and this. If they want to go back and redo, that's fine. But if it's not unsafe, my thought is let each project stand for what it is and apply what we learned to the next one. And that's a bit of advice that I think goes a long way. So I'm going to violate my own rule, but you're in my house. This is my channel, and you're watching the video. And so maybe you're not asking, but again, it's my house. It's my shop. You're here. And I think you kind of want to hear what I have to say. So my number one piece of advice is don't be a flaming ashtray. Don't. And I don't think any of my viewers are that way. That's not the point. But I do see them come flaming through the comments here on the videos. And I've even seen some, I'll say discussion loosely in my comments. And I've had to put my foot down a couple times and delete some commenters. Not delete their comments because it just wasn't appropriate. And there's even been a couple people I've just blocked from the channel because they don't fit into what we're doing. And I really want this to be a safe place. I really want this to be a place of encouragement. I want it to be a place where people can ask questions, not just of me, but of each other, and carry on conversations, and maybe develop even relationships behind the scenes that they can encourage and support each other in all of the stuff that we do around here and in your shop too. So maybe it's not an issue for us. Maybe we're not the ashtray, but we do see somebody who's being an ashtray. How do we handle that? I would confront it gently. Say, if you were 16 years old, how would you have felt if somebody had said that to you? Chances are that person has got their head up their hinder so far they're not going to hear it. But once in a while somebody goes, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. But I mean, the reality is it's not just 16-year-olds. I know guys who are 60 who are doing stuff that they're getting flamed for it. I don't give a crap. I've been doing this stuff for 45 years. I couldn't care less. I know what I'm doing. You may not know what I'm doing. That's a different thing. I enjoy what I do, and this channel's here to share that. But I think it bears looking at and discussing. We've got several young people here on the channel now who watch what we do here. And I want this to be a place where they feel safe, where they can ask questions, where they can share their stuff. And where they can learn from some of us who, we may not be old farts, but we smell like one. I just found that very ironic in my observations, that those who criticize are also the ones who are driving people away, and they're the ones complaining about the future generation of the hobby. And I think it's just sad because, yeah, no, I know the numbers are dwindling. I get that. I've seen the numbers. And yeah, the interest is waning, but I think a lot of it is not just financial. It's not just because they didn't grow up with these cars, but it's just because overall, all of it feels unattainable, and they maybe took a little baby step forward, and some ashtray came in and just ripped them to shreds, and they said, screw that. I'm going to go back to my cell phone and my video games or whatever it is they're into. Stop being so critical and be an encouragement. I know that's not everybody's gift. I get that. But just a simple, hey, not even saying, oh, that's awesome and blowing smoke. I'm just saying, hey, that's pretty good. You don't have to lie, but you don't have to be hypercritical. And say, as I said, ask, hey, would you like a couple tips, a couple pointers, some stuff I've learned? I'd love to share some of that with you. You'd be surprised how a younger person will say, yeah, I'm all ears. Tell me what you... And then, again, be gentle. Be gentle. You don't have to be a flaming ashtray. All right, I'm going to shutting up. It's great for you to be here. I always love sharing time with you here out in the shop. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies. I don't care. Just spread the word about MKS. The more the channel grows, the more I can do. Coming out of 25 was, we gained a lot of momentum, and I'm hoping we can continue to carry that into 26. A lot more coming on Fundestruck, definitely more coming on Stitches. Oakland, I got some stuff coming on that, and we are going to be hammering into the deep work on the Forsyth Duster. I want to get that car moving well along here, hopefully in the first quarter of the year. All right, I'm going to shut up. We have channel memberships for as little as $5 a month. We have merchandise, all kinds of stuff here. And the biggest free piece of advice I could give anybody around here, don't forget, because it's very important.